Hello and welcome to Film and Game Composers. I'm Mina Shamali, and this is our TLDR review of Epic Sound Labs Octomorph Forge Edition. So TLDR, too long did not read, so this is going to be an abstract of our full review, which you can find part 1 and 2 on our website and on our YouTube channel. For the meantime, we're just going to try to tell you as much as possible in as short a time as possible, so you get as full an idea as I can in as little time as is required to get it across. All right, so what is Octomorph? It's basically an instrument for creating soundscapes, for sound design, for morphing drones, risers, all that kind of stuff. It's a sound design tool, and it's basically a big engine to do that. So we'll have a look at it, the way it works. It's designed for Kontakt 5.1, the full version, or higher. And therefore, it won't load up in the Libraries tab. You need to access it either via the Files tab or via the Quick Load browser, as you see here. So you need 900 megabytes of free space for the content, 2 gigabytes of RAM to run it, so it's not really heavy at all on your computer. You could probably put it on a laptop and use it on the road. And it requires an internet connection to download the product. So you purchase it, you get sent a link, extract it, and toss it somewhere on your computer, and then access it on Kontakt. So there you go. All right. So as you can see here in the file structure, we've got an initial patch and a user initial patch, and then a bunch of presets. So this is the initial patch we've got loaded. Let's play a note and see what it does. So as you can see, the basic concept is it's moving between these sounds via the XY grid, and so that's the whole concept. And how it works is that it's actually got 8 different sound sources. So you got A, B, C, D at the corners, and you got some compass directions: north, south, east, west at the sides. And don't worry about it. So it's got sources A to B, and the transition between them is north. Sources A to C, and the transition between them is west. You know what I mean? That's how it kind of moves. So it's pretty cool. So you got each of these different sounds. It's basically just 8 sound sources, and you can pick a different sample and manipulate it separately, and then just set it to move. Set this instrument to move between them. So what it does is you can actually either set an LFO to move it, as we've got now. So 2 LFOs working together and they move in a particular way, or you can set it to manual control. So here I can move the x-axis this way and move the y-axis this way. And you can set these to a MIDI controller. Say, for example, I can set this to the mod wheel. As you can see, so I move the mod wheel in now. And I can do the same with the y-axis with another controller. And so that's pretty handy for manual control. But if we set an LFO rate, you can set it at tempo syncs. It kind of syncs into your host tempo. So if we just set it to 1 bar on x-axis and maybe 2 bars on the y-axis, and see how it moves. All right, and then you can cycle between a bunch of different waves. And then edit how the waves behave with the bias. And you can do the same with the y-axis. So you can go a whole bunch of different sounds, different ways to do that. So that's the basic idea of how it works. So you can change up the sound. So here you got a list of different sounds. So I can change this A to something, B to something else, C to something else, and D to something else. And I can tune them all differently. Here we got tuning, 9 semitones up, 21 semitones down, 48 semitones up, and 48 semitones down. Why not? So that's just the A. Let's have a listen to what it does now. I can make it move slower. So as we can do whatever we want. You can solo and mute any of the sound sources. You can do the same in these transitions. This is basically, they work the same way. It's just where they are is different. And here you can randomize just any of these sound sources themselves, or you can randomize all of the sound sources in this area. So I can randomize here all of them, and now we've got something completely different. So yeah, so there you go. You got the basic idea and change the way they move. You can actually, here's a little button called Scramble that can scramble everything. Sound sources, LFOs, and how they behave and everything. So with the press of the button, you can change the entire thing. So that's pretty cool. And here in this master panel, you can tune the whole thing up or down. So you can set a whole bunch of relative tuning factors here, and then just set them up and down. Scramble again. And do what you want. You got attack and release. And you got your volume. Now, these have a particular way of all the volumes are set to kind of be equal using the perceived loudness. There's a thing called LUPS, which is detailed in the manual and detailed on the website. I think it's detailed. No, it's at least detailed in the manual. So yeah, they recommend that you don't really need to change the volumes unless you absolutely have to, because they're all made to be relatively similar to each other and perceive the same volume so that they can move smoothly between one another. Of course, it's up to you if you want to make that perception, play with that perception. But that's you. Anyway, anything else? We got a Doppler effect here. So it's sort of like to create flybys. Say we scramble and just put Doppler effect up. So it kind of like keeps flying by. And of course, you can set this to a MIDI controller and control it yourself. Resonate, it's kind of this additional comb filtering, pitched comb filtering. It's hard to explain, but this is what it does. What it sounds like when it does. So that's what you got. And then you can, and then you can build your risers. This is a riser builder, so you can set it to, for example, rise for 1 bar and rise for 3 octaves. So have a listen to this. And then we can just, I don't know, make it manual or something here. Or we could change the waves a little bit. So that affects what happens after you hold the riser. So you can keep the riser going till after it's done rising, or you can just let go of it by the end of that bar. And you can make it go for maybe up to 2 bars. If we scramble this whole thing, we can make a different type of riser. Scramble again, make a different type of riser. Can make it rise for like just one beat. Or 8 bars. So you get the idea, and you can also make it a downer. So let's make it maybe go for 1 bar. Perhaps. Start high enough, it'll have somewhere to go. So there you go. So that's the riser builder, which is a great addition. Then you got a bunch of effects. You got equalizer, standard equalizer. You got reverb with a bunch of custom impulse responses. The ghost ones are pretty cool. And you got a tremolo. Oh, it's still going. Scramble. or none, you know? All right, and then you got a tremolo. You can just adjust the rates and the depth, and you got a bunch of different ways of how that tremolo behaves. Scramble again. So you can make the tremolo play along with the with whatever LFOs are behaving. So yeah, so that's how the patches work. You got reinitialize, back to where we started, and there you go. Now there's also a user initial patch, which doesn't have any of its own sound sources. There's the manual details how to add your own sound sources and replace them, and then have them so that the names show up how you want them to show up. So basically, you just go into the back and start replacing samples and put them all in the groups and the transitions, so you actually have access to them all. And literally any sample can be put in there from wherever you got, whether it's a custom recording or from another library or whatever it is. So you can run anything through this engine if you have got the samples. So that's pretty great. Pretty great. I quite enjoy that. And what else is there? Yeah. You can run through a few presets. You got some simple risers that go for different lengths of time. Or you can... So as you can see, you got some complex risers. All right, you got some rhythmic risers, so that's some pretty interesting stuff over here. So as you can see, it's a whole use of the LFOs, quick LFOs together with the riser builder. You got some flybys that use the Doppler to full effect. What else you got? So these are like, these really nice one-shot effects. And this is a button, by the way. I forgot to mention this in the full review, but this is, you can make it one shot here or just make it loop. And that's how you make these flybys just fly by once. So there you go. I'll put an annotation into the full review. You got some rhythmic stuff, which is pretty cool. So you can tell there's it's filling a lot of different areas of need. So there you go. And then finally you got a bunch of drones, evolving drones, because you can make these go as slow or as fast as you need to. So this is kind of more of a fast drone. Oh wait, that was meant to be something else. So there's quite a variety of stuff you can do in there. The presets, are really awesome. And I think that about covers it. As you can tell, the sounds are very geared towards more like kind of dramatic, more thriller, and more mystery kind of stuff. But obviously that depends on the samples, because the samples that's applied here specifically cater to that. If you put in your own kind of samples that are, a lot lighter, a lot more ethereal, I don't know, whatever it is, then you can use the same way to create a whole bunch of really different sounds. So the possibilities don't stop where the presets, with what the presets provide. So so there you go. So this library sells for $59 US, which I think is quite a bargain for this amount of possibility within Kontakt, and this amount of back end scripting to be shown on the front end for you to use. So there you go. I hope this has been informative, and if you would like to check out more detail about this, you can check out our full review, parts 1 and 2, again on our website and on our YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.